Do you think he's a pathfinder?
Oh, yeah. I think he's a maverick.
Oh, it's very kind of you to say such a thing. Yes, I've been looking for the path all my life.
When people think of Pierce Brosnan, they picture the suave charisma that defined a generation of Hollywood stardom. The sharp tuxedos, the silver hair, the easy smile. But ask Pierce himself what he is most proud of, and the answer has nothing to do with Bond films or box office numbers. Time and again, in interviews stretching across decades, he has pointed to one constant in his life: his wife, Keely Shaye Smith. And lately, Keely has been doing something she rarely does, stealing the spotlight entirely for herself. In recent months, fans and media outlets alike have noticed a striking change in Keely's appearance. She has slimmed down noticeably, and the transformation has ignited conversation across social media, entertainment news platforms, and wellness communities worldwide. But those who know her story, the full story, not just the tabloid snapshots, understand that what the world is seeing is not simply a before and after moment. It is the visible result of a deeply personal journey toward health, self-respect, and a life lived entirely on her own terms. Before we talk about where Keely is today, it is worth understanding who she has always been, because she is far more than the woman standing beside one of Hollywood's most recognizable men. Born on September 25, 1963, in Vallejo, California, Keely Shaye Smith built a career long before Pierce Brosnan entered her life. She worked as a television journalist and correspondent, contributing to programs including Good Morning America and The Today Show. She also worked as an entertainment reporter, model, and environmental activist, co-producing documentary projects focused on ocean conservation and wildlife protection. Her commitment to environmental causes was not a hobby or a celebrity side project. It was a genuine, sustained effort over many years. By the time she met Pierce Brosnan in 1994 on a beach in Mexico, Keely was already a woman of substance and independence. The meeting, as both have described in separate interviews over the years with outlets, including People magazine and Hello, felt immediate and unlike anything either had expected. Pierce was still carrying the grief of losing his first wife, Cassandra Harris, to ovarian cancer in 1991. Keely, for her part, was not looking to become anyone's caretaker or accessory. She was simply present, curious, warm, and completely herself. That authenticity is what drew Pierce in. And it is that same authenticity that has defined her approach to everything that has come since, including the very public challenges involving her body, her health, and the cruel commentary that followed. Hollywood has never been kind to women who do not fit a narrow, physical ideal, and Keely Shaye Smith experienced that cruelty firsthand. Over the years, as her weight increased, later attributed in part to a thyroid condition, the tabloid coverage became relentless. Headlines dissected her figure. Paparazzi photographs were captioned with mockery. Online commenters, shielded by anonymity, said things no decent person would say to another human being's face. What made the scrutiny particularly vicious was its contrast. Here was a woman married to one of the most conventionally attractive men in the world, and the world seemed determined to remind her, and everyone watching, that she did not measure up to some invisible standard of worthiness. The implication, never fully spoken but always present, was that Pierce Brosnan deserved better. Pierce, to his enormous credit, rejected that framing loudly and consistently. In an interview with the Sunday Times, he addressed the body-shaming coverage of his wife directly, saying that he found her beautiful and always had. He was not performing nobility for a journalist. By virtually every account from friends, colleagues, and the couple's own public statements, Pierce has been genuinely and privately devoted to Keely in exactly the way he presents publicly. When he calls her beautiful, he means it. Keely, meanwhile, refused to disappear. She continued attending premieres and public events. She stood on red carpets in elegant gowns. She smiled for cameras and looked directly into lenses while carrying herself with the posture of someone who has decided, quietly and firmly, that other people's opinions of her body are simply not her problem. That was its own kind of remarkable. The turning point in Keely's physical transformation did not come from tabloid pressure, nor from a desire to silence critics. nor from any external force at all. According to those close to the couple, as reported in various wellness and celebrity publications over the years, the decision came entirely from within. As she moved through her late 50s, Keely began paying closer attention to how she felt. Not how she looked, but how she actually felt from day to day. Energy levels, sleep quality, the ease or difficulty of moving through the world. She had spent years focused outward, on her family, on her environmental work, on supporting Pierce's career and raising their sons Dylan and Paris. Now, she turned her attention inward. The shift in mindset was fundamental. She was not chasing a number on a scale or a dress size she had once worn. She was chasing vitality. She wanted to feel strong. She wanted to wake up in the morning with something left in reserve. And she understood, with the clarity that often comes in midlife, that nobody was going to hand that to her. She would have to build it herself, one deliberate choice at a time. What Keely adopted was not a crash diet. It was not a sponsored program or a trendy detox. It was a thoughtful, sustained lifestyle overhaul rooted in principles that nutritionists and wellness professionals have championed for decades. The foundation was food. Keely shifted toward a plant-forward, whole food diet, filling her kitchen with vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and lean proteins like lentils and tofu. She reduced her consumption of processed foods, refined sugars, and alcohol. She began practicing what is commonly described as mindful eating, slowing down at meal times, paying attention to hunger and satiation signals, and treating food as something to be genuinely enjoyed rather than consumed on autopilot. Portion awareness became part of her daily habits, but not in the rigid, punishing way of calorie-counting apps and strict meal plans. She simply began paying attention in a way she had not before. According to wellness experts who have spoken broadly about this kind of approach, that shift in attention alone, without any other changes, often produces meaningful results over time, simply because it reconnects people to their body's actual needs. Movement followed. Keely had always lived an active life to some degree. The couple is frequently photographed taking walks on the beaches near their Malibu home, but she became more intentional about it. She incorporated yoga into her regular routine, which brought benefits well beyond the physical. Flexibility, balance, and a daily anchor of stillness in an otherwise busy life. She added swimming, a low-impact cardiovascular exercise that is particularly well-suited to people navigating joint sensitivity or the natural physical changes of midlife. Strength training, done gently and consistently, helped rebuild muscle tone and support her metabolism. The mental and emotional dimensions of her transformation were just as deliberate as the physical ones. Keely began meditating regularly, starting with just a few minutes each morning, a practice that many mental health professionals and researchers have linked to reduce stress, better emotional regulation, and improved sleep. She kept a journal. She practiced, with intention, the kind of self-compassion that is easy to recommend and difficult to actually sustain, especially for a woman who had spent years reading harsh things written about her in public. One element of Keely's journey that has been consistently noted by those who follow the couple is the role Pierce played in supporting her. This was not passive support, nodding approval from a comfortable distance. It was active participation. Pierce joined her on morning walks. He got involved in meal preparation, and, according to comments Keely has made in various interviews with outlets including Good Housekeeping, he became genuinely enthusiastic about cooking with fresh, clean ingredients. He tried new recipes alongside her. He sat with her in quiet moments. He continued, as he always had, to speak publicly about his admiration for her, not as a PR strategy, but as a man who has been with the same woman for more than 30 years and still means what he says. On social media, Pierce has posted tribute after tribute to Keely over the years, marking anniversaries and ordinary days alike with expressions of genuine affection. On their 20th wedding anniversary, his message to her, captured and widely shared, spoke of love and light and the enduring joy she brought to his life. When Keely's transformation began attracting public attention, he did not take credit. He pointed toward her. He made clear that the strength people were seeing was hers. That dynamic, a genuinely supportive partnership at the center of a significant personal change, is something wellness professionals frequently cite as one of the most powerful predictors of long-term success. Not motivation, not willpower, not the right meal plan, but a supportive relationship in which the person changing feels safe to struggle, safe to fail, and safe to try again. When Keely began appearing in public looking noticeably different, more energetic, lighter in her step, glowing in a way that photographs captured without any effort, the response was extraordinary. Social media filled with comments that, for once, skewed overwhelmingly positive. Women who had themselves struggled with thyroid disorders, weight fluctuations, and the particular exhaustion of midlife wrote about seeing themselves reflected in Keely's story. They were not simply applauding a slimmer figure. They were recognizing something deeper, a woman who had been through real difficulty, who had refused to be defined by other people's judgments, and who had quietly done the work of reclaiming her health on her own timeline. Entertainment media, which had spent years contributing to the very scrutiny Keely had endured, largely shifted its tone. Coverage focused not on measurements or comparisons, but on the transformation's emotional and personal dimensions. Wellness publications ran pieces examining the kind of holistic approach Keely appeared to have taken. Health professionals noted that her path, gradual, sustainable, rooted in overall lifestyle rather than acute intervention, was the kind most likely to produce lasting results. At public events, cameras that had once been cruel now captured something different, a woman standing fully in her own confidence. At a film premiere in Los Angeles, alongside Pierce in a deep emerald gown, Keely drew the kind of attention that had nothing to do with speculation or criticism and everything to do with presence. She looked like someone who had arrived, not somewhere new, but somewhere she had always been heading. When asked by a reporter how she was feeling, she kept her answer simple. She said she felt like herself. That short reply said more than 1,000 words of explanation could have. It would be easy to reduce Keely Shaye Smith's transformation to a headline about weight loss, and many outlets have done exactly that. But that framing misses nearly everything important about what actually happened. What Keely did was choose herself. After years of being told, in 1,000 indirect ways, that her body was a problem requiring a solution, she decided to address her health for reasons that had nothing to do with anyone else's comfort or approval. She did it to feel better. She did it to have more energy for the things that matter to her: her marriage, her sons, her environmental advocacy, her own quiet interior life. She did it because she reached a point where living well felt more important than looking a certain way, and once those two things aligned, the external changes followed naturally from the internal ones. That is a profoundly different story from the one tabloids typically tell about celebrity weight loss, which usually involves a punishing regimen undertaken in response to shame. Keely's version involves self-knowledge, patience, a supportive partner, and the kind of long view that only becomes available once you stop measuring yourself against someone else's standard. Her story has resonated with women across age groups for exactly that reason. Midlife, for many women, is the moment when the gap between who they are and who they have been performing becomes impossible to ignore. The demands of careers, children, marriages, and aging parents leave little room for the kind of genuine self-attention that Keely eventually chose to practice. Seeing someone navigate that transition with grace, without extreme measures, without before and after spectacle, without the drama of a public announcement, offers something genuinely useful. Proof that it is possible to change slowly